If you want to be like the apostles, you might end up in jail. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Welcome to the program, friend. You might end up in jail if you want to be like the apostles. Well, we want to follow the example of the early church. Okay, then get ready for ka-ching, chains. You can actually go to Rome and see the chains of St. Peter. That's what they're called. They're in a church. These are the chains that he actually wore, the manacles. In today's program, I had a wonderful interview with Joe Scheidler recently, the godfather of pro-life activism. And we talked about arrests. Joe has been arrested. I've been arrested dozens of times. I've spent a lot of time in jail and wrote several books in jail. I used to kid. I always wanted a jail ministry. I just didn't know it was going to be from inside of a jail cell. Or I wanted to be like the Apostle Paul, so I went to prison so I could write prison epistles, prison books. All right, enough joking. The truth of the matter is sometimes when you stand up for what's right, you come into conflict with the authorities and you do go to jail. I hope you enjoyed today's program. So I went to an old friend at Elam Bible Institute where I graduated, Mike Kavanaugh, and told him my vision for New York. And he said to me, very wise, he said, how many people has the biggest arrest been? And I said, 100 in St. Louis. And I was promoting to have 1,000 arrests in New York. He said, you can't go from 100 to 1,000. You have to have an interim step. And thus, Cherry Hill was born.
Cherry Hill, right.
Yep. So I called up our friend Mike McMonigal, and I said, Michael, a man prevailed upon me for us to have an interim step between where we are now, what happened in St. Louis, and where we want to be in New York City. Would you host this event in Philadelphia?
And Mike was a good man for it.
Oh, he's just a dear
Very
man.
cool.
Mm-hmm. Courageous, a former nuclear engineer in the
Yeah.
Navy. So he had the Philadelphia police worked into such a frenzy because we had let everyone know that we were going to do this test run in Philadelphia, and the police had blockades and staff around all of the abortion mills, and we got out of bed at 5 a.m. and piled into our cars and drove over the bridge into New Jersey. And
ingenious.
Oh, I'll never forget, we pulled up to that abortion mill in Cherry Hill, and I just was waiting to see police with angry looks on their face. Not a soul was there. It was 10 minutes after 6. We pulled in, and I just thought, thank you, God, thank you, Jesus. And we just started to park and to pour out, and sit there in front of that door and had our test run, and it worked.
We did lots of little clever things like that.
In those
I
days.
remember in Atlanta even, having a fake protest at the Midtown abortion clinic while you were having the real protest, out in Chamblee or something?
I can't remember.
So in some suburbs where you just had, it was just
Yes, that's right,
enormous.
that's right.
Yeah.
That was 88.
In 88.
Oh, my goodness.
So there was a lot of ingenuity went into this, and a lot of great esprit de corps, great spirit, singing, praying, sacrificing, being willing to go to jail, but not getting into so deeply that, by breaking up equipment and stuff. There you could have gotten into felonies and things. That's what we were a little worried about with your original plans. But you very quickly came around to see the advisability of a lower key activity, but with more appeal. There was a tremendous appeal, and people began coming out in larger and larger numbers.
Like I said, you gave me permission.
Well, to do it the right way.
Right, exactly.
Not to go to jail. See, the thing is, Joan Andrews was an example of a totally dedicated pro-lifer who was willing to spend lots of time in jail.
Years.
Years in jail. She would break up equipment. she would do things that were felonies that got her jail time. And then I used to plead with Joan to sign papers or whatever and get out because we needed her leadership.
You reject them,
Outside.
you reject me. That was the
Right.
book.
Mm-hmm.
And she wouldn't do it.
She wouldn't do it.
No. Finally, the governor of Florida and the governor of Pennsylvania cut a deal and brought her to PA, where then she was released.
She was released. We were there that day for her release. And even then, she wouldn't make any promises. They just let her out, and they were looking for her soon after that.
Yes.
Because-
Well, she got arrested. She got arrested that week in New York City.
Right.
She was with us in New York in
That's
May of
right.
88.
She went right back there.
Yep. Yep. Unbelievable. Still to this day, she was arrested with us. She was arrested with us at Rudy Giuliani's headquarters in New Hampshire in the 2008 primary.
Right.
And I know that she's been arrested since then. In fact, one of her kids was with her and got arrested that day
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
She may be under arrest now. I don't know. But
Joan
she-
Andrews Bell. Her married name is Bell, by the way, and has
lovely, lovely girl.
a great family. And her husband Tom is also incredibly dedicated.
And she's known in the movement as St. Joan.
Yep.
Everybody calls her St. Joan, and she probably is.
Had a profound impact on me. Profound. And always, I felt sheepish around her because she was so courageous, so single-minded, and her reasoning tended to be unimpeachable.
I visited her. Did you ever visit her?
I never got
in
to see her
prison?
in
I went
physical.
down to Florida and visited her there and had a nice long visit. You know, she wouldn't sleep on the bed. She wouldn't sign any papers. She was in solitary confinement almost the entire time that she was in jail.
God bless her.
I think all she had to
God
do
bless
was sign some paper that didn't really amount to much, but it implied guilt, and she wouldn't do it. And so I pleaded with her. I said, please, just sign the paper. Get out. Be with us. We need you. We need your leadership in the movement out with us on the streets. And she said, Joe, some people, I wouldn't accuse anybody of being less pro-life than I am if they signed it, but I can't. I have the way I have to go, and I can't cooperate. And she wouldn't. She would not cooperate at all with the powers that be, because it would imply guilt, that there was something wrong with saving babies. And she wouldn't do that, and I admired her for it, but it was frustrating because we really needed her leadership.
And then she provided it for us. If you own a business and would like to advertise on our program, please contact us. We are currently seen on over 130 television stations from coast to coast. We air at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then all times are local. We have a lot of reach, friend, and this is an opportunity at a great price for you to get your product or your service in front of hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people. Also, if there's something that's important to you and you'd like to have a month where you just say thank you to this ministry or promote a certain ministry or a certain cause, contact us. Our rates are incredibly affordable. You'd be surprised. And you, again, can reach into hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of homes. We're currently seen possibly in over 30 million homes. So give us a call, give us an email, and we'll put a commercial up for you. You and I had a stressful moment in New York. Was it the Times Square Hotel or the Hotel Carter?
It was at Times Square.
The Times Square Hotel, which was basically like a flop house
It
at the
was.
time.
I don't know if it's still there or not, but
I think that they remodeled it.
I think you're right.
I think that
fixed
they
it up.
remodeled it.
Have to go out
So
and
this
look.
was a hotel where we would have planning meetings, and we would go scout out the abortion mills, and I think it was March. It was March of '88. It was still cold. It was still cold.
Rainy.
Yeah, it was miserable weather.
Miserable weather.
And we were in a room there, and it really was a flop house. And it was right over the New York Times. it was literally underneath the hotel was the depot where the New York Times trucks were coming and going to deliver newspapers. And we were having one of our last meetings, and for some reason it started to derail. I'll let you recount it.
Well, you were talking a great deal about the arrests. Arrests seemed to be the thing. You wanted numbers of arrests. And I happened to be with a couple of pro-life leaders. I was having lunch with them, and I was talking about the plans, and they said, why all the arrests? This is New York. You're going out to Rikers Island. They're not going to be nice to you here. And they started really making it look very, very negative to be arrested, even at a sit-in.
I did not know that.
And so I listened to them, and then I thought, well, maybe a whole lot of arrests is not the best thing. Maybe just keep the clinic closed, and as they start taking you away, go back, but don't get arrested. And so I went back, and I just listened. You were all talking, and it was arrest, arrest, arrest. That seemed to be the big...
That was what we were talking about, yeah.
That. And so I said something to the effect of, why do you have to have all the arrests? You're liable to be biting off more than you can chew. And I think you were so determined to up the arrest number that I went out to catch a cab to go to St. Patrick's for Mass, and it was raining, so I was going to catch a cab, and you ran out. And you said something to the effect that, Joe, if you can't go along with our plan, maybe it's better that you don't come. And I was hurt, but I said, no, I'll be there. And in fact, I did come out with Andy Schulberg and Tim Murphy, and we were arrested.
Yes,
we were part of your 503. We were the three. and I could see, and of course it worked out beautifully. We all went to some police hall, instruction room or something, and were given a little slip of paper, and it was nothing to it.
Singing and praying.
Yeah, singing and praying, and very upbeat, and the way you had envisioned it. But I hadn't, because I had been sort of jaded in a way by this very, very well-meaning couple. But they were scared of the number of arrests and thought that it would be tougher than it was. But anyway, that was a kind of a falling out. I didn't, and then when I saw how well it went, I realized you had this under control.
I'll tell you something. I was 28, and following you out into the rain, I looked at Gary Lieber before I went out, and I said, what do I do? I can't believe that just happened in the room, because you were the one who had convinced me to go with a peaceful arrest,
right.
and all of a sudden you're like, well, and it was one of the hardest things I ever did. I was fighting back tears. Even now, because you were a hero to me, and still are.
Well, I knew it was hard for you.
Oh.
I knew it was hard. And that's why I said
and
I will.
The reason was because so many people respected you. My worst nightmare was that Joe Scheidler was going to stand up and say, maybe this isn't the best idea after all. I was like, no, please, Joe, don't do that. You gave me permission. You gave all these people the blessing. You know, the Godfather has said you can do this, and then the Godfather says maybe you should not do this.
Well, so, I was with you all the way, and
yes, you were.
I think it was being with Mary and her husband that, and we had a long talk. We had lunch, and they were very negative. But I found out later. I kept working with them, and they were a delightful couple, but she was worried too much, and
in general.
She went to have a meeting with Cardinal O'Connor, and I think she sort of had this negative sort of approach. She saw the dark side, and we later broke off our friendship, which I was sorry for, because we had been friends for many, many years. And she had been an activist and gone to the clinics and talked to women and done all the things that we were doing, but she didn't have the broad picture that you had. And for that moment, she actually made me over-concerned. I lost some of my joie de vivre and optimism that you had as a younger guy and all. You were right, and you proved yourself right. In fact, that event that we finally came to with the 503 arrests was perfectly legitimate and handled beautifully. But we were learning. We were learning.
Right. Friend, this program is supported by friends like you who believe in what we are doing. We run a very tight ship. Thankfully, we are on over 130 stations across the country, having tremendous impact. We get emails every day. We get letters in the mail, not every day, but almost every day. We hear from people who love what we're doing. What people don't understand is that it's sort of expensive to produce a television show like this. It doesn't require earth-shattering funds, but it does require financial help. So I am asking you, if you enjoy this program, throw us a $10 or a $20 bill every once in a while, or even a $50 or a $100 check. You see the address there on the screen. Your gifts are not tax deductible, by the way, because we want to be able to say what we want to say regarding politics without the IRS telling us no. So if you like the program, I ask for your support. One of the greatest joys and passions that I have had for almost my entire life is music. And one of the best times that I had was putting together some albums in Nashville of songs that I wrote. One of the albums is called Dark Sunglasses Day. This is a country album, a lot of love songs and patriotic music. We've made it available to you online, and I hope that you'll go take a listen. You might be pleasantly surprised. You might even find yourself singing along.
We were learning.
Right. It was still, it was in that, at that level, I beg your pardon, at that level of arrests, you know, we all were thinking about civil rights movement and capitalizing on the political momentum and the media attention. We were writing the script as we went.
Right.
I mean, this is, you know, it's not like there was a handbook. You wrote that handbook, but as far as, you know, how to negotiate with the police and what can you barter with the police and how can you buy more time and where's the threshold of where you're going to be in danger physically, you know, they were threatening us with Rikers Island. They really were.
See, that's
right.
That's what
right. And
got
so,
me.
on another rescue in New York, were you in there? Did you come in January of '89 when we went to Planned Parenthood on 2nd Street? Were you there for that? Bernard Nathanson was arrested at that one, and so was Judy Brown. God rest Bernard Nathanson's soul. So anyway, we were there, and there was over 1,000 arrests on that one day. It was twice the size of the original New York one. And we got into custody. They ran out of room, and they stopped arresting people. They had us on buses, and they said, look, we can't process all of you. And it's late in the day. We've been there all day. We've been arresting all day. And they said, if we let you go, you're 7 busloads full, will you promise to not go back to the abortion mill? Well, we knew the abortion mill was already closed, so he said, sure. And then I got off the bus and I said, can I go inside and talk to the people? So they let me come and go as a free man in and out of the jail.
Yeah.
And so one of the police said to me, these people won't give us their names, they won't cooperate. If they don't cooperate, we're going to put them in Rikers Island. And I said, let me talk to them. I'll calm them down. So I went in. They gathered all these people, and it was a classroom, again, like you mentioned, a police academy.
Right.
They put me at the lectern, and I said, they're saying that if you do not give your name, that they are going to put you in Rikers Island for the weekend, and you don't want to go there. I said, they're not going to do that. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the room. They're trying to frighten you. Just hang on. Everything is going to be okay. And the cop's face fell down. He said, what have you done? He said, you've made it even worse.
Yeah. But you were right. You were right.
Well, I finally figured out, you know, we'd had enough interaction with police. I figured out that some of the cops were telling us, look, they're saying to Rikers Island, they don't have any room there. There's no way you're going to Rikers Island. So I was playing my hand, hoping that the intel that I was getting was accurate.
Yeah, the police, for the most part, I found the police to be friendly toward this movement. An awful lot of them are pro-life.
Yes.
And a lot of them would, kind of give you the old thumbs up, sort of like, you're doing the right thing.
Right.
I'd be with you if I weren't wearing this uniform now.
I want to invite you to go to our website. Almost every book that I have ever written is available as a PDF online for free. We have a ton of products, training materials, tools that are available for you for free. All we ask for is that you give us your email address. That's it, so that we can stay in touch with you and, yes, from time to time, ask you to support this work. So I'm inviting you, go to the website. Now, for those of you who say, well, I don't want a PDF, I want a real book. You can get one of my books. All you have to do is pay for shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift you want. And if you can't afford anything, we'll send you the book for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Why are we doing all this? Because we want to change the direction of the country, and we need to raise up a fresh generation of warriors to do that. That's why we have this tool. I invite you, go to the website, see for yourself. Speaking of Chet, did you ever do anything with Chet Gallagher?
I just admired him greatly. He came and joined. Didn't he?
Didn't he do it in his uniform?
In his uniform.
Drove up in an abortion mill in Nevada on his
motorcycle.
His police motorcycle.
Yeah.
In his police outfit.
Parked it, got off, and joined in his uniform, in his police uniform.
Oh, God bless him.
Chet Gallagher, another great one. There were several like that the policemen and officers that joined. Not everybody was with us. I remember one time I went into
that's an understatement.
I went into a hardware store to get some wrapping paper for some toys I'd bought my kids. I was going to send them, and the guy behind the counter came at us with a baseball bat. And I was with the priest, and he was very down on this priest who was pro-life, very pro-life.
This is guilt. This is a man who's had some connection to a dead baby.
Came at us with the baseball bat, and so this priest, Father John, said, "Joe, I think we're not going to get any service here, not the kind of service we want." So, but they would watch. The police would sometimes watch very carefully. If they knew you were with one of the pro-life priests, they would watch how close you came to the line to try
to harass.
To harass, yeah. There was that angle that we have to admit existed.
When I started Operation Rescue, when we first met, I was born-again, evangelical, charismatic, Bible-preaching young preacher.
Right.
And you, of course, were a very devout Roman Catholic. And I thought, Catholics aren't saved. And I don't know what Catholics thought, because they were
thought they were the only ones who were saved.
Right.
Still do.
So it was so difficult for me. It was so hard for me, but I want to ask you about your memories and your sentiments about the ecumenism, or the ecumenical nature of the rescue movement, because it really was, in many ways, it was unprecedented. Because for those who have a background in theology, there's deep hatred from certain groups of Protestants toward the Catholic Church, and there's massive contempt and mistrust from the some Catholic people towards any Protestant church. So to see us all together getting arrested, spending time in jail, having time to then assess and to meet, it had an incredibly profound impact on me. And you did, especially, which we have a story about that in our time in Rome. But well, I hope that this was an inspiration to you, friend. Remember, sometimes if Christians do the right thing, they are going to end up in jail. just like the apostles. God bless you.